Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Dakota, the place where we decode the language of business. Today we're diving into the quarterly report of South Dakota Soybean Processors, or SDSP. Get ready for some number crunching because, well, someone has to do it. This report basically gives us a peek into how SDSP is doing financially, what challenges they face, and what they plan to do about it. It covers the first 3 months of 2025. SDSP didn't quite have a blockbuster quarter, profit was down. Before we dive in, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below where you can chat with other finance enthusiasts. Let's get started. First, let's check out the balance sheet. This is like a snapshot of what the company owns and owes. Okay, looking at current assets, their accounts receivable, which is the money owed to them by customers, is about $27.30 million. That's a slight decrease from the almost $30 million at the end of last year. Their inventories, or the value of their products and raw materials, jumped up to $66.3 million from about $45 million at the end of last year. That's a pretty big increase. It could mean they're expecting sales to increase, or it could mean they're having trouble selling their products. Now, looking at liabilities, or what they owe, their total current liabilities are around $72.8 million. This is down from the $122.5 million at the end of last year, which is good news. It means they've paid off some of their short-term debts. Their long-term debt, however, is a different story. It's jumped up to $133 million from about $507 at the end of last year. That's a big increase, likely related to expansion. Let's move on to the income statement. This tells us how much money the company made and spent during the quarter. Their revenue, or total sales, was about $117.9 million the same period last year. Their cost of revenue, which is the direct cost of producing their products, was about $112 million. This leaves them with a gross profit of about $5.9 million, less than the $7.3 million from last year. Operating income, which is profit after deducting operating expenses, was $4.2 million. This is also down from last year when it was $5.7 million. Interest expense was about $1.1 million, which is slightly down from the $1.5 million last year. Finally, their net income, or total profit, was about $4.1 million they made in the same period last year. So overall, not a great quarter in terms of profit. It's important to note that a portion of the income is not directly attributable to the company, but to non-controlling interests, meaning entities they have stakes in but don't fully own. The statement of cash flows shows how the company's cash balance changed. They had a decrease in cash of about $33.2 million. They used about $40 million in operating activities, which means their day-to-day business operations didn't generate enough cash to cover their expenses. They used about $60.80 million in investing activities, mainly due to buying property and equipment. This is a big investment in the future. They got about $67.6 million from financing activities, which includes borrowing money and distributing money. Now let's look at some of the important notes in the report. These give us more details about how the company operates. The consolidated financial statements include the accounts of the company and its controlled subsidiaries, like High Plains Partners LLC. SDSP generates revenue primarily from merchandising and transporting manufactured agricultural products. Most revenue comes from soybean meal and hulls and soybean oil and oil byproducts. Their inventory consists of finished goods, raw materials, and supplies. They also invested heavily in property and equipment, especially construction in progress. They're building a new facility. SDSP uses a seasonal loan, a short-term loan, to finance its operating needs. They can borrow up to $70 million under this agreement. They also have long-term debt, including revolving term loans and delayed draw term loan. They have operating leases, mainly for rail cars, machinery, equipment, and storage facilities. The company declared a cash distribution to its members like a dividend payout. SDSP uses derivative instruments like futures contracts to manage the risk of commodity price changes. This is very common in the industry. The company measures some of its assets and liabilities at fair value, which is an estimate of what they would be worth if sold in the market. SDSP may face legal proceedings related to workers' compensation, tort claims, or contractual disputes. Finally, the company states that there were no significant events after the end of the quarter that would affect the financial statements. SDSP's management has some thoughts on the financial condition of the company. The market in 2025 appears to be gradually adapting to the challenges encountered in 2024. Soybean meal and oil exports are currently tracking at a record-setting pace. On the operational front, the High Plains processing plant is expected to begin operations in the fall of 2025. SDSP actively manages risk and has strong risk management policies. And there we have it. Let's try to summarize in a simple and understandable manner, Dotlin. In short, South Dakota soybean processors had a challenging start to 2025. Their revenue and profits were down compared to the same period last year, mainly due to decreasing prices for soybean oil. However, they're investing in the future by building a new processing plant, which they expect to open later this year. They're also managing their risks by using financial tools like derivatives. Looking at these results, the company is facing some headwinds due to market conditions. The good news is that they are taking action to expand their operations and manage their risks. Now, what's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.